Good morning to all of you. It's good to be here with you. I realized just a moment ago that I did not get the lapel mic, so I'm going to do my best to stand right on top of this thing so that I can be heard. I apologize for that. I'd like to start by asking you a quick question. If you could have something you want right now rather than later, which would you choose? Something you want, and someone says, do you want it now or do you want to wait? Would you take it now or would you wait? And let me just follow up by saying, if you would wait, why? What's wrong with you? I mean, that doesn't even make any sense. You can have it now or later. Which one would you choose? I received a sermon request really several weeks ago. I've been thinking about that a lot, and I've been trying to prepare thoughts, biblical, scriptural concepts that deal with this idea of patience and delayed gratification and the great value that is found in that. If you had the box to check, it was your turn. You want it now or do you want it later? You can see the person here checked now and then underlined it. Now. I want it now. And that is a temptation for us really in this life, which is why I asked that 1 Peter chapter 2 be read. Remember with me in verse 20, Peter says, "For what credit is it if when you are beaten for your faults, you take it patiently? But when you do good and suffer, if you take it patiently, this is commendable before God." So it's not just, do you want this thing now or are you willing to wait? The Bible talks about things that are very difficult for us, that if you are beaten, though you're doing what's right and doing what is good, if you bear that patiently, the Lord knows that there's injustice going on. That's not the issue. The issue is how you walk through that fire. And how you deal with that. It's patience. It has to be instilled in our hearts, in our minds, all the time with everything that we do. That I need to remember, I need to be patient about everything. I've got to work on this. It's hard. And the world is offering us more and more, and they're giving it to us more quickly. And so this feeling that we have is being fed by worldly concepts and worldly ideas. Look at James chapter 5 with me. We'll start in James 5 and verse 7. I try not to hone in on every verse that says be patient, but that's really what we're going to see a lot of this morning. James 5 and verse 7, "Therefore, be patient, brethren, until the coming of the Lord. See how the farmer waits for the precious fruit of the earth, waiting patiently for it until it receives the early and latter rain. You also be patient, establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord is at hand. Do not grumble against one another, brethren, lest you be condemned. Behold, the judge is standing at the door. My brethren, take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord as an example of suffering and patience. Indeed, we count them blessed who endure. You have heard of the perseverance of Job and seen the end intended by the Lord, that the Lord is very compassionate and merciful." So he tells us repeatedly here, the Lord is at hand. The Lord's coming. Be patient. He's coming. Be patient. This idea is there's a imperative that's continual. Be patient. Continue to be patient. Enforce this in your life. Stress this in your own mind. We must be patient. And if you're having trouble with patience, go to the farmer and watch how he lives his life. He plants the seed. He has to wait for the first and the latter rains. The plant has to come up. He's dealing with weeds and all kinds of things that are counterproductive to what he's trying to do. There's birds of the air that eat the fruit that he's trying to produce. He has to work through all these things, and he can't speed that up for 1 second, and he knows that. He's going to have to wait. But even as we look at the farmer, there's a beautiful picture there that when that crop is ready, what a glorious moment. We did it. We're going to be able to collect. We're going to get the fruit that we worked so hard for. There's something in this transition of time that God wants us to see. The farmer has to wait. We have to wait as well. But don't be upset with the process. There's something happening there for you that you need, and God says you need it. There's something happening for all of us when we sit and say, you know what, I'm going to wait. And I hope that as we go through this together, you may be thinking of someone you know who just has this concept of patience just locked down. You know, it's not a big deal to them. They don't mind waiting. They're okay with stopping for a minute and smelling the roses when so many of us are just racing down life's highway. There's got to be someone that you know and that you may be thinking about. We have a real problem with instant gratification, and there are great dangers there for us. Instant gratification and the demand for it is all around us. We have Amazon's free same-day shipping, Instacart, Uber Eats, instant messaging, and online banking, which I love, online banking. I preached a sermon, I think, 2 years ago, and I was talking about waiting in line at the bank and how that upset me. I think the lesson was on patience. Someone came to me afterward and they said, you can do online banking. You can just take pictures of your check. And I was like, what? You can take pictures of your check and it just goes into the bank? And since that day, I've never been back in a bank. We like these things. They're good for us to speed up life, and yet they are very, very dangerous. We're able to do things faster than ever before. This PowerPoint is an idea of instant gratification. I'm showing you all these things flashing before your eyes so I can keep your attention. Because we feed off of these things. We're nursed by these ideas. And I'm using this very concept to preach this lesson. Because we're impatient. I'm worried if I stand up here with just my Bible, you'll fall asleep. Because we're constantly being entertained by screens. Now, this is a tool that is used and should be used with wisdom to help assist in the learning process. I am not here to entertain you. I am not here to keep you awake. I'm here to tell you the truth. And as you understand that and receive that truth, that you will be awake, you will be sharp, because you know that this matters. I would be willing to guess that we're all guilty of impulse buying some item that really wasn't that great, right? At some point we said, I'm going to get this, and we thought, wow, that was a waste. It's happened to all of us. I am sure of it. We're told that we can learn a new language in no time at all by companies like Rosetta Stone, Babbel, and Duolingo. Airline tickets. What an amazing thing, huh? Airline tickets. They can get us where we want to go faster than ever. I heard many years ago about a basketball player who was going to play golf in Florida. He was a San Antonio Spur, and he was going to play golf in Florida, and he was going to get back by the end of the day to have dinner with the team. 18 holes of golf in a different state because of an airline, and how quickly we can get to places that in any other time in life it would not be possible. And that blows my mind. With an airplane, it doesn't take me 2 weeks of vacation time to go visit my great aunt Mildred up in Elbow Lake, Minnesota. I just have to get on a plane. And I don't have to worry about that long drive. I don't have to worry about traffic. See, these things are good for us. But I wonder about finally getting to Aunt Mildred's house. Where's my mind in that? I've raced there as quickly as I can. What if I had to drive? What if I had to commit gas money and time and set vacation time aside to be with her? Would it be more valuable to me? I don't know. Maybe. I believe that it would. Zig Ziglar is quoted as saying this: the chief cause of failure and unhappiness is trading what you want most for what you want now. I think that is a powerful and amazing quote. The chief cause of failure and unhappiness is trading what you want most for what you want now. And we are so willing to do that. It is dangerous. While all of this is going on, all of this instant gratification is going on, our Bibles are consistent. They are gently yet firmly offering to us the wisdom of God. He tells us over and over again that we need to be patient. We must be patient. We must endure. We must persevere. And so we'll look at this together. Before we read the passage, you can certainly be turning to Luke chapter 8 if you'd like to be doing that. But I just want to give you some earthly, practical wisdom in this concept, in this ideas as we go through part 1, because the world understands this too. It's not this hidden gem of truth that just the Lord is sharing. It certainly is there, and He's giving it to us. But the world sees this and understands it on many levels. And we'll look at some of this as we go through the series. There are dangers of instant gratifications. As kids, when I was little, and the rest of us who were older, when we were little, our parents would ask us a question, and we would say, I don't know. And our parents would be furious about that. Why don't you know? I'm asking you. I don't know. We say it all the time, generations ago. You know that kids don't say that anymore? They don't say it anymore. Who was the first baseman of the New York Yankees in 1923? I don't know. Can you find out? Yes. Yes, you can. You can find out in an instant. They don't say it anymore. They pull out their phones and the answer is there instantly. By taking the challenge out of getting good information, we are removing the essential process of learning and acquiring knowledge that's actually worth learning. I can look up anything, and it doesn't really matter to me. So I can just look it up and I can tell you the answer. What's that worth? Nothing. Because I spent no time looking into it, something that I think is important to me, something that I take seriously. I need to know. I want to know the truth. I need to dig for that. And in the digging process, it becomes more valuable to me. I take pride that I know certain things because I've spent time to find them out. And we're hurting ourselves by removing that process. If we continue to look it up on the internet and we don't research it on our own, we are robbing ourselves of the opportunity and the ability to be patient, to do it the right way, and to learn from our mistakes. Sometimes when I spend all day looking for something, finding the information that I need, I make mistakes in that process. I'm looking in the wrong place. I've made mistakes throughout, but I'm learning something in that. And that goal is still valuable enough for me, though I've made mistakes, to press on. I want to know the answer. And we're being robbed. We are being robbed of that process. And God is looking on us as a nation and as a people, and I just wonder what he thinks about all this instant information that we treat as trash because it came to us so quickly. It's not worth anything other than just being right. I can be right. I can Google it quicker than you can. If a child asks me, please understand, especially for our parents, those of you who are teaching, if you're a teacher and you really want to teach, if that's your goal, is to impart wisdom to the youth around you. For our parents, if a child asks me who the first president of the United States is, I can give them the answer because I know the answer. Have I served them well by telling them who the first president of the United States is? Maybe. Could I make it more worth their while by saying to them, let me show you how you can find that out. Let me share a book with you. It's a book on all of the presidents. So certainly the first one is there, but there's just tons of information about our nation and its history and what these things mean. Tough decisions that were made by our presidents. You see, now the book is open. They're reading. They're working for that goal. They want to know the answer. Now they're doing something. I've given them tools, not the answer, tools to find the answer. And so now they know that this book has a lot of stuff in it about things I would like to know or may want to know later down the road. These quick searches are ruining us. I guarantee you it is a serious problem. If I've taught a child how to find the right answer for themselves and do it the right way, I have taught them a great deal. And so what became a simple question, which we already know the answer to, is now turned into a tool that they can use for the rest of their lives. Valuable, worth something. I'm not a fan of Google Maps except for the fact that I use it all the time. I don't like, because when I was learning how to drive, we had what they called a Ferguson map, and it was a pain to use the Ferguson map because you had to know the street name, you had to look it up, and then it would tell you it's on A3, on page 863. So you go to 863, you look at A3, and you line them up, boom, there's your street. But you still need to know how to get there. You can see it on the map, but you got to figure out, okay, what roads are nearby? And you got to flip through pages to figure out what the biggest road is next to this area that you're comfortable driving on or that you're familiar with. All that's gone. All of it's gone. Looking for postmarks, that they say, well, you're going to see a bank on the right-hand corner. When you see that bank, take a left, and then you go down a mile and a half. Whatever the instructions are, we've got these landmarks that were so important to us before, and now they're irrelevant. We're not looking around anymore. We're not seeing what's out there. Because when the bank used to be the landmark, you know what we say when we get to our destination? You know they're adding on to that bank? There's this construction on the right side of that bank. They're doing something there. Now? Nah, we don't know. We don't care. It's not on our phone. Doesn't matter to me. Conversations are weaker. I love my dad. He says to me, you know how to get there? I'm like, yes, even though I don't, because I can put it in my phone. I know how to get there. And he still gives me directions, step by step. I said, I told you I knew how to get there. Why are we doing this? Because that's how we grew up. That's how you do it. You explain to people, this is how you get there. And it's all being taken from us. It's all been removed, the process. So let's think about our children. Jesse Weinberger is an author of a book titled The Boogeyman Exists, and He is in Your Child's Back Pocket. It is a scary book. It's estimated there are 750,000 child predators online at any given moment, right now. And they're not looking at wicked websites. They are flipping through your child's softball game picture. They exist, and they're looking for your child. It's a scary book. The boogeyman exists, and he's in your child's back pocket. She has been called by schools across the country as an internet safety speaker. So she helps deal with these things. Here's how you can remain safe while using the values of the internet. She highlights instant gratification as the main problem our children have when it comes to smartphone use and online addiction. She offers 3 things that are imperative to overcoming the need for instant gratification. And I want to share these with you because they're valuable, they're good for us. 3 things that she offers to work on delayed gratification, to be okay with that. Number 1, grit. Number 2, growth mindset. And number 3, deliberate practice. This helps us fight off the need for instant gratification. The use of these 3 will help us all the way down this road. And it'll help us appreciate delayed gratification. Number 1 is grit. She mentions in her speeches, she often mentions Angela Lee Duckworth in her lectures. Duckworth is a professor at the University of Pennsylvania. She specializes in child studies, particularly with the mind. She uses a term she calls grit, and it is the ability to persevere past failure. The ability to have a long game versus a short game. It is the ability to have a goal in the distance and never abandon it with single-minded focus. That's grit. Have a goal. Where are you going? What are you going to do with your life? Set the goal. Set the marker in your mind and then go to work. Don't ever abandon it. Yes, you're going to fail. There's going to be problems. You pursue that goal with everything you have. It makes your character what it's going to be. Don't ever give up. It's grit. It's something we must have. We must have instilled in our lives. It's a goal that is set that we know comes later, not now. Not now. There's a process. We're working towards that, but grit demands that we will persevere because it's worth it. Our character is established in that process. It's an amazing thing to have grit. We all need to have it. It's the patience that God speaks about to us in the Bible. Number 2, after grit, is growth mindset. This is the belief that your brain is pliable and growable because it is. It's the understanding. My brain is pliable. I can grow my brain. There's effort involved, but I can make my brain all that I want it to be. If you apply very specific, deliberate practice tactics, if you do this the right way, your brain will grow. It's not the quick, easy fix, but working through the growing pains of using your mind in a way that rewards you long term. That there's a goal. Remember? Grit. There's a goal out there. And I need to grow my brain. I am working towards something. And when I get there, I want my mind to be ready for that gift that I've worked towards. It's all a process. I'm set on something, but in that process, I'm developing my mind so that when it's finally handed to me, I'm ready to use it. And I value that thing because I've worked for it. It's an amazing thing. That's what gives the things we want value. If someone hands it to me and I did nothing, guess what it's worth? Other than the immediate yay, it's worth nothing. And the way I behave around that thing, the way I treat that thing will reflect that very quickly. We want to be rewarded in the long term. That's where the value is. Number 3, after grit and the mind growth process, the growing mind idea, we want to instill deliberate practice. Now, this is where it gets hard. You think the first 2 were hard? Grit and mind, growing your mind, those are complicated, they are difficult. But the hard part is deliberate practice. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's evaluating yourself honestly and working on the areas that are not as good as they should be. And it's deliberate practice. It's not just noticing that I'm weak in this area. It's saying to myself, I know I'm weak in this area, and I'm going to set my mind to the work. I'm going to get better. And the only way that can be done, I know this, the only way it can be done is by deliberate practice. So let's take golf as an example. I want to play golf, and I want to do it well. And just personally, I've given up on that a long time ago. It's not my game. But men, women, if you want to be good at golf, it's not going out and playing 18 holes and say, well, I guess I'm better because I played 18 holes. That's not deliberate practice. This is how you get better at golf. You find the weakness in the moment of your swing. As you come back, you find where it is that you have the weakness, where you're not doing what you should be doing, watching yourself on video, finding out where that contact point is and saying, here's my spot. Even with a coach saying, look, your arms are twisting here. You can't do that. That's why you're slicing it every time you play. I tried to fix my slice by just aiming the ball in a different direction. And then I don't slice it. It's crazy. But you want to play golf, you want to do it right. Find that moment in your swing where you are weak. And then guess what you do? Do it right 15,000 times. Mind is engaged. I can't move my hands the way. That's what's causing the problem. I must fix it 15,000 times. Not just doing it the right way. Because the mind and the body, they will move and accustom themselves to what you're teaching it to do. Then when you get on the golf course and someone says, why are you so good? You want to hit them. Because you've gone through the difficult process of making sure you're doing everything right. And if you say, I don't want to do that, then you don't want to be good at golf. That's obvious. That's why we tell our children, find a goal, set the goal that you see as valuable to you, and get to it. Commit yourself. Everything you do should revolve around this idea that someday I'm going to be a doctor. Someday I am going to be a fireman. I'm going to fight fires. I'm going to save people's lives. Well, think about that now. Implement in your mind. How are you going to save lives? In what way? What do you need to do to be physically ready to do that? Commit yourself to it. Because when you finally are rewarded that ability, they give you the job to do those things that you've been working on it your whole life. You're prepared now to step into it, and it is valuable to you because you've committed yourself to it. No one can take that from you. You don't just instantly get good at things that you long to be good at. It takes deliberate practice. You want to learn an instrument? You want to learn how to play an instrument? It's not finding your favorite song and playing through it once, poorly. You're not good at the instrument. You may have hacked your way through it, but you're not good at the instrument. It's understanding the principles of music. It's understanding how to read sheet music, how all of that works, what octaves are, where the notes are supposed to be. Timing and tempo is absolutely important in learning an instrument and playing it right. It's training your hands and your mind to move in the correct rhythms and to play those notes with perfection. It's learning that one spot, just like golf. It's learning the one spot where you can't quite play it right. And for those of us who play instruments, we'll just kind of mow through it, right? That's what we say. Let's mow through it. No, I want to do it right. I want to do it right. So I'm going to have to slow down. I have to play that one part, that one transition that I don't quite have down yet, and I need to master that. Will my listeners know that I worked extra hard on it? They'll probably say, man, you really can play the guitar. You can really play the piano. They'll probably say that, but they'll never know how many times I had to go through that to get those notes where they're supposed to be so that it's played the right way. I need to find out how to do it right, and then I need to do it 15,000 times. Guess who's going to hate their favorite song after doing that? Songs you thought you liked? Not so much after you play that one part 15,000 times. But that's how it's done. And it's all by God's design. He says to us over and over again, be patient. Be faithful to God. Be a Christian. Serve Him with all of your heart. Give your heart, your mind, and your soul to Him. Be patient, though. Be patient. Wait on the Lord. He will exalt you when? In due time. Not your time. In due time. God will exalt you. Be patient and wait on him. Look at Luke 8. I know you probably read it several times if you turn there when I asked you to. Luke chapter 8 and verse 15. Jesus is giving the parable of the sower here, and as he's explaining this, he says in verse 15 of Luke 8, "But the ones that fell on the good ground are those who, having heard the word with a noble and good heart, keep it and bear fruit with patience." It's very interesting when we talk about the sower, and we've heard lessons on this, the preacher, the one teaching the class, whatever it is, as we're looking at this, what do we think about? The soil, the seed that fell on good ground. What's the good ground? The soil. It's the heart. And so we spend all of our time thinking about the heart. Do I have a good heart or do I have a hardened heart? And that's usually where we spend all of our time in the parable of the sower. But in Luke's gospel, he says, if you hear the word with a noble and good heart, keep it and bear fruit with patience. That patience is instrumental to this idea of having a good heart. That part of having a good heart is being able to be patient and to know that I've received the word of God, I'm bearing fruit, but it's going to take some time to get where I want to be, where I ultimately want to be before God in my service to him. But I am committed to it, and I am working on it with everything that I have. I'm practicing these things 15,000 times with patience, because I'm still going to have some carnal things about me that need attention that I'm going to have to continue to work on. How many of us evaluate ourselves like that? Watch yourself on your own video in your mind's eye. How are you behaving? How do you speak to your parents? And I don't care how old your parents are or how old you are. How do you speak to your parents? We are to honor our father and our mother. You need to work on that. We can look at everything the Bible gives us to do and evaluate ourselves properly and be committed to that work. Look at Hebrews chapter 6 and verse 13. I love the book of Hebrews as we talk about patience because of how many times the word endure is there. We're told that Moses endured. We're told that Abraham endured. We're told that Jesus himself endured the suffering on the cross. Hebrews chapter 6 and verse 13. This is speaking of Abraham. The writer says here, "For when God made a promise to Abraham, because he could swear by no one greater, he swore by himself, saying, 'Surely blessing I will bless you, and multiplying I will multiply you.' And so, after he had patiently endured, he obtained the promise." Abraham is an excellent example about patience and endurance and perseverance, because just think about with me for a moment, and we'll look at this again in the next lesson. Abraham has a life. He lives in Ur of the Chaldees. He is with his family. He's doing whatever it is he's doing, like all of us. The Lord comes to him and says, "I want you to pack your things and go to a place of which I will tell you. And I'm going to multiply you. I'm going to bless your seed. All nations will be blessed by your seed." Now, from where we stand, we say, boy, good thing Abraham did that because God came through. That's obvious to us. But think about Abraham for a moment. What he's given is leave everything you have, leave everything you know, because I've told you that this is going to happen. Could you do that? Honestly, could you do that? That someone says to you, okay, you have what you have here and now, but over here, if you'll go and do this, here's what I'll give you. Would you do it? Would you take that offer? All you have is a promise by someone you haven't spoke to before. Would you do it? I'd like to think that I would, but I also understand who I am, that I'd have a lot of reasons not to. I got a lot going on here. There's things I'm involved in. I've got a meeting to go to next week. I can't leave. And so, most of us don't. Because what's tangible, what's in front of us, is more valuable than that which is promised from afar off. That's not worth anything to me unless I believe it. Abraham is such a powerful example of patience and endurance because he was simply told something and then he changed his life. because of what he was told. He was given a promise. That's it. None of us has walked as far as Abraham on his own 2 feet to go to a country he did not know because God told him he would give him something. Faith, commitment, endurance, grit, growing the mind, deliberate practice. God told me this. We're doing it. I believe him. And after he endured, he inherited the promise. It's always that way. It is always that way with the Lord. And I love the example that Abraham gives to us. You know, as I was thinking about patience and trusting the Lord, endurance, perseverance, it blows my mind that all of that is actually in the concept of sacrifice. If I ask you today, Old Testament sacrifice, what was it for? We would say for God to pass over the sins, the atonement of sins. It was the requirement of the law so that I would recognize that I had committed sin, and so I gave the life of an innocent substitute. All of those answers are right, but I want you to see that patience is in that. Patience is in sacrifice. Why? What's the word? What does sacrifice mean? It means to give something up. Back to Abraham. To trade something that you have now for what you've been told you'll have later. Sacrifice is the very essence of that idea. Why is that true? Well, we see it begin in Exodus chapter 12 and verse 5 when the Lord begins to instruct Moses on what sacrifice is. He tells them, take a lamb, every man, every patriarch of his family, take a lamb or a goat. Which one is he supposed to pick? We know the instructions, don't we? Which one should he take? The 3-legged lamb that's blind or the one that's perfect in every way? Sacrifice. It's hard to do. We finally got this perfect lamb that we can breed to make more perfect lambs, and God wants it. Going to give it to him? Or are you going to breed perfect lambs? It's hard to do. The very best that you have is what you give to God. Even in sacrifice, you give your very best and you wait on me. That's tough. But it's his promise. You give your very best, you put the blood on those doorposts, and then you wait. Imagine being in that home that night in Egypt, in Goshen, with blood on your doorposts because that's what you were told to do. Your very best lamb is dead because you slaughtered it with your own hands, and now you wait. The angel of death passes over your home because you did what God told you to do. Sacrifice is patience. It's me giving what I have for the glorification of God, even though it's my best. And then saying, I'm going to wait on the Lord. I've done all that I can. I didn't cheat him. I gave him my very best. Now all I can do is wait because he is who he is. And he's promised me something great. Can you do it? Have you been doing it? I hope so. It's a beautiful picture of delayed gratification that you have through your life as a Christian. All of you who are here this morning, as I'm looking at you knowing that you've faithfully served the Lord, how much have you given up? How much have you sacrificed? How many times have you done something you just didn't want to do because you knew it was God's will? You're demonstrating your own patience by sacrificing your very best for God. Look at one more passage together as we close this morning. James chapter 1 and verse 2. James is very big on patience. We read from James 5 as we started this morning. James chapter 1 and verse 2. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. But let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. That's how we accomplish this work before God. That when trials come, various trials of all kinds, whether it's health or a challenge in my life, a mental challenge, I'm trying to deal with something in my family, maybe with my parents, something's going on, and I'm in a various trial, a type of trial, I need to know. Remember what I said? that the process is worth something to us. I need to sit down for a minute and say, okay, hold on. I don't like any of this. But I am supposed to be patient, I'm supposed to endure it, and I'm supposed to trust in God, because I know by His word that the testing of my faith produces patience. And patience will have its perfect work in me. So it's not just, I can't wait to get to the end of this, though that's true. It is in this process, there is a perfect work being established in my life. I think that's awesome. As painful as this is, as long as it's going to take, there is something powerful happening within me, and God is working it out in His time. It takes patience, it takes endurance, and it's not microwavable popcorn. It's not how quick can I get this done. It is, okay, I don't like this. Let's see what I can take from it. This is happening for a reason. I'm going to trust in God. And it is very valuable to those who patiently endure as they hold fast to the word of God. Verse 12, blessed is the man who endures temptation. For when he has been approved, he will receive the crown of life which the Lord has promised to those who love him. Just like Abraham, we've been given a promise now. The man is blessed if he endures temptation. Because as God watches him endure that temptation and not give in to it, he is approved by God. And the crown of life awaits those who endure. The promise is given to you by God, just like Abraham. So are we ready? Here we go. It's time to seriously think about these things. And I want to give you one more thing, because the instant gratification is always going to be there. We talk about fasting. You know, we can fast from food. Mostly we think about it that way. But fast from your phone. Turn that blasted thing off. It's pulling us away from our God. Pulling us away from the things that He says are valuable and important. It is dangerous. It has value. It serves us well. But just turn it off. No more notifications. Leave it off as long as you can, and when you can't take it any longer, just ask yourself, am I still alive? Did I make it? The answer is yes. Teach and train yourself to be patient. Stop getting everything you want instantly. Don't go to Amazon. Get in your car, go to the local store, support your local business, ask somebody, do you have this in stock? If they say no, say, well, I tried. Amazon, here we go. Don't do that. Tell them, how long will it be back ordered? 3 months. Well, here's my test. I need it today. It's good for us. And when it comes into stock at your local shop and they call you and say your item is here, get in your car and go get it. Have a conversation with someone. Tell them, thank you, I appreciate you keeping track of my order and keeping your eye on my invoice. Thank you. You've given them something to do. You've given them job support, you know. There's a lot of things we could be doing that we are racing through and we don't care anymore. And it's not good for us. There'll be more to come on this idea and concept, and I look forward to this study with you. I appreciate your careful attention this morning. Best I can tell, no one fell asleep, and I didn't do a lot of flashy stuff after I mentioned it, so good job. You are to be commended for that. There may be someone here this morning who needs to respond to the gospel invitation from Jesus Christ Himself. Christ, who gave Himself on the cross, says, whosoever will may come to me. He who thirsts, let him come to me and drink freely the rivers of living water, that flowing living water which only Jesus can provide. Anyone in the world who needs Him and who needs to have their sins washed, to have their soul cleansed before God, that's available to you this morning. We'd love to have you come forward to make that need known to us. If we can help you in any other way as it pertains to spiritual things, you're invited to come forward.